Hi everybody, Penny here. Welcome to my kitchen. So today we are going to make some oatmeal peanut butter cookies, and they are delicious and relatively healthy for you. There's no butter or oil. There's no processed sugar. It's sweetened with maple syrup or honey, whichever is your preference. A little bit of cinnamon adds some sweetness, and some vanilla adds some sweetness. So it's all good. So what we have is maple syrup, 2 very well ripened bananas. We're going to use peanut butter. Now if you want to use almond butter or some other kind of nut butter, not a problem. We have 1 egg, some vanilla. Those are all our wet ingredients. And over here we have 1 1/4 cups of the quick oats, which I always have in the house. If you have old-fashioned oats, that's fine too, but don't use the instant. They're not the same. Then I have 1 cup of whole wheat flour. If you don't have whole wheat flour in the house, don't worry about it. You can use white flour. Or if you wanted to, you could put 1 cup of another cup of oats, not a cup out of this batch. Put it in a food processor and make oat flour. Totally up to you. And then in this little bowl, we have 1 full teaspoon of cinnamon. We have a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So that goes in there. Just lay that over here. We're going to mix that up a little bit so it's well combined. We don't have half of our cookies with cinnamon and the other half with no cinnamon, all that kind of stuff. This is the 3rd batch of these that I've made now. They're actually really good. So that's the dry ingredients. And then added at the end, we're going to fold in a 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. Now it makes approximately 28 cookies with a 2 teaspoon scoop. So a 1/2 cup spread over 28 portions is not a lot. So yeah, it's a little bit of sweetness in there, but it's okay. Now if you didn't want to use chocolate chips, you could use raisins, you could use your favorite chopped nut, you could use dried currants, you could use dried cranberries, whatever floats your boat, but we're going to use chocolate chips. Okay, so let's get to it. The oven is preheated to 350 degrees. We have a cookie sheet lined with some parchment paper. And now we are going to very finely mash up our bananas. Now the last time I did this, I did it in the food processor to make it quick. But not everybody has a food processor at home, so we're not going to worry about it. We're going to mash it by hand. And I just have a fork. And they're going to mash really easy because they're very overripe, as you could tell by the peel. So it's all good. This recipe wouldn't be the same with a yellow banana that hasn't over-ripened because it would be too hard. You wouldn't get it to mash down as well. So make sure your banana is overripe. Easy peasy. See? There we go. Now we're going to switch over to a whisk. We'll put that over there. Now we are going to add 1 egg. There we go. And we're going to whisk that in. And of course, as you're whisking, your banana is going to mash up even more, which is great. So you don't have to be too particular, but make sure she's overripe, like I said. There we go. And now we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. There's 1. And there's 2. And we're going to add a 1/4 cup of our maple syrup. This would be just as lovely with honey. Now, if you don't have honey or maple syrup, you could use brown sugar. But part of the point of this particular recipe is not to have any refined sugar. And we'll give that a whisk. But you could easily use some brown sugar and you would get a very similar flavor. Oh, that looks good already. Okay, now, it also calls for some kind of nut butter. Now, we're using peanut butter. You could use all natural peanut butter, unsweetened peanut butter, almond butter, whatever nut butter floats your boat, you're good to go. It calls for 1/3 of a cup, which I have here. I am not going to put the peanut butter into the 1/3 of a cup of dish because peanut butter is a pain to get out of a measuring cup. So we are going to eyeball our peanut butter. And if we have a little bit more, looks good to me. If we have a little bit more, that's not a problem. There we go. Now we just got to whisk that in, which will take a second, but not too bad. There we go. See? It's all good. All whisked in. That's wonderful. Now I'm going to put in about half of our dry ingredients. And after that, I'll have to switch over to a spoon because it'll all get caught up in the whisk. Look at that. That is awesome. Excuse me, gotta get a spatula. There we go. Now we're going to switch over to a spatula so we can make sure that we get the sides and whatnot of the bowl, as well as make sure we fold in our chocolate chips. There we go. So you want to make sure you get your sides so it all gets incorporated. And this is when it starts to look like a cookie batter instead of something really thin. There we go. Now we'll fold in our chocolate chippies. One fell out of the boat. Now I'm using a 2 tablespoon scoop. If you use a bigger scoop, it'll take a little longer to cook, but it's the same thing. So I'm going to use a 2 tablespoon scoop. And when you use your scoop, try and make sure that it's flat against the edge of the bowl, so it's flat going onto the cookie sheet. And that just helps them sit a little better. And these cookies do not flatten because there's no like butter or oil or anything like that in there. It's a little bit of that peanut butter, but they don't flatten like a regular cookie. They rise a little bit, not very much. So you don't have to have a full 2 inches apart. So, oven's preheated to 350. I'm going to fill out the tray, and when they're done, between 12 to 15 minutes, we'll be back. Hi everybody, back again. So here is our cookies, and they are still warm and just beautiful. Can you see that under the light? So good. So very good. And so easy. 28 cookies exactly if you use a 2 tablespoon scoop. I hope you give it a go. They're really, really good. Enjoy. Bye. Now I just need tea.